When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind to Raw with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The 18 that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Hello everyone, welcome to Rewind to Raw, the only way to start off your week. I'm John Pollock, along with Wai Ting.
Hey.
Wai, how are you?
Good, I'm doing pretty well. Yourself?
I'm pumped.
Really? Why?
I don't know.
Pumped to review this edition of Raw?
I am. I'm actually looking forward to talking about this episode of Raw with you.
Okay. Cool. I don't know if I'm pumped, but like...
I'm excited. I'm going to rewatch Raw as soon as we're done.
All right. Well, let's not waste any time.
We can always waste a little bit of time, but we're not going to because we have too much to get to this week. Ladies and gentlemen, there are shows we put out, and then there are events. Those shows that will last for an infinite amount of time on your phone, in your memory. That is what Thursday is about. It is the World Transfer Window, starring Martin Beno, Kate from Montreal, Andrew Thompson, an underdog, Wai Ting, and Jamesy. And if we learned one lesson on Monday, there's no shamesy losing to Jamesy.
Oh, that is correct, yeah. Jamesy returns for one night only on the British Wrestling Experience.
Mr. Kane from Spain, back for one night only. This is the biggest return in a year that has brought you Punk, Nick Diaz. It's Jamesy that is getting everyone's attention this week. This is the equivalent of us booking the United Center for Jamesy to come back.
Pretty much, yeah. So Jamesy will be there, and for people who maybe are unaware, a transfer window, I suppose, is what the Europeans like to call like a draft. So we're doing a fantasy draft for our promotions of anybody outside of the WWE. Each one of us gets to pick our own roster of 20. And then at the end of it all, we put a card together and rely on the audience to vote on who the winner will be. So, will it be defending champion Jamesy? Or will it be Kate? Will it be Andrew? Will it be Martin? Will it be Beno? Or will it be me?
Man. Do we have odds? Is there a line out?
No, there are not, unfortunately, but there are predictions. And throughout the week on our Twitter account at Post Wrestling, you can find predictions from various members of the Post Wrestling community. Everybody has a take. Everybody has an opinion on who will win this one. And so stay tuned for that.
So look out for that Thursday on the British Wrestling Experience feed. Some other highlights this week. Tuesday, we're dropping a new Ask Away mailbag show. The show that Wai and I enjoy because there's no preparation ahead of time. And you just catch us off guard with questions that we answer truthfully and honestly. So that will be coming out on Tuesday. You can still get your questions in if you're hearing this in time. And then the G1. We are into week 2 of the G1. We are going to be putting out shows this week for Cafe members on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Thursdays is going to be capturing 2 days worth because there's a show Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to put out one show on the Thursday to cover those two events happening at Cork and Hall, and then Friday and Sunday follow-ups.
That is correct. Yeah. Lots of G1 coverage, lots of coverage of everything coming up. So thank you if you've been a patron for this month, and if you're going to stick around for the next month, we thank you as well.
Yes, so you can go check out the whole schedule. We'll be live Friday night after the draft and Rampage for Cafe members as well. We will be live for that, taking your calls. So whole schedule up at postwrestling.com. Are you ready to get into some news, Mr. Ting?
Let's do it.
Off the top, I wanted to talk just about the news of Ryan Sakoda's passing. This is... he had actually died several weeks ago. This was on September 2nd that he had passed away. And I guess the obituary just made its way online now, and people were discovering that he had died earlier this month at the age of 48. Ryan Sakoda was a fairly well-known name in the early 2000s in the Southern California scene, coming up there through Rick Bassman's UPW group, which was tied very closely to WWE in the early 2000s. So you saw him involved in that scene with your Cenas, Samoa Joes, Frankie Kazarians, a lot of the name talent that came out of SoCal. And he wrestled around California. He went to Japan for 0-1, teamed with Samoa Joe. And then up till that point, 0-1 was probably his most well-known position that he held in the industry until signing with WWE and then debuted on Smackdown in the fall of 2003. He was put into a unit with a heel Yoshihiro Tajiri and Akio, which was a rebranded Jimmy Yang. And they formed a heel group, and it lasted a couple of months. It wasn't like a prominent run that he had in WWE, and didn't even last there a year. He was let go in the summer of 2004, and then you saw his name bounce around. He did go back to Japan, wrestling for 0-1. He did some hustle events. He was involved with Wrestling Society X. And then over the last couple of years, you would have associated his name with the big class action lawsuit that Konstantin Kairos led with all of the former talent regarding long-term concussion issues, and that was ultimately thrown out. And, you know, Ryan Sakoda was one of those cases you look at of where he worked for the WWE for less than a year. So when you're talking about long-term concussion issues, it's very hard to be able to pinpoint where your concussions occurred and where the damage happened, when sometimes you don't know the full effects of concussions until years down the road, which also presents issues when you're talking about, in a legal sense, with a statute of limitations. But, you know, that's kind of where his name was last associated in the pro wrestling news cycle. So our condolences to his family. 48 years old is very young. The fact that he was part of this lawsuit, I would imagine that, you know, the effects of pro wrestling did have, you know, affected him in a significant way. So that is all on Ryan Sakoda. Moving on to some other news items. The Royal Rumble. Actually, let's go in order here. AEW has announced that the Full Gear pay-per-view is going to be taking place on Saturday, November 13th. We knew the date, and now it's official that it will be at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, confirming that they will run back-to-back nights at the Target Center with a live Rampage on the Friday and then the pay-per-view on Saturday.
Yeah. I feel like this was probably something that many people would have expected after the Rampage date. And yeah,
do you see this being the pattern of doing it, like piggybacking Rampage with pay-per-views on the Saturday and Sundays in one host city?
Yeah, it would make sense. You know, like TV wise, setup wise, or just, you know, in terms of just having media in the city. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense.
There's a great cost savings to being in one central location. I think it encourages travelers, and especially when you have that buffer day before a Sunday pay-per-view, it allows you the chance to do a fan fest event, different stuff like that, which you could still do during the Saturday of Full Gear. But I think it encourages more than just the singular pay-per-view event. And I think with an AEW audience there, with only 4 a year, you have a better chance of travelers, you know, making a weekend out of it, as opposed to just coming in for the show and leaving, or opting not to travel.
Absolutely.
The Royal Rumble, however, is going to be going to St. Louis, and they're going to be doing a Saturday night show to avoid the NFL playoffs with the AFC NFC Championship games happening on the Sunday. They will run Saturday night, January 29th, at the Dome at America's Center in St. Louis. They're expecting over 40,000 people for the Rumble, and confirming for the 5th consecutive year a men's and women's Royal Rumble match. And I think this is also following in the trend of the big shows earmarking them for stadiums and getting away from arenas.
Yeah, it's the second biggest show that they have of the year, and to some people maybe even one that they look more forward to than WrestleMania itself. You know, the Royal Rumble name carries a whole lot of prestige at this point attached to it, and I'm sure there would be plenty of interest enough to fill that place.
Moving on to the television numbers from Friday, we will start off with Rampage, and Rampage did 640,000 viewers, 376,000 in the demo, which works out to a 0.29 per Brandon Thurston and Showbuzz Daily, and that did finish number one on cable. But we the way it was broken down was on Showbuzz was we did get to see how hour 1 performed and how hour 2 performed. And there was a sizable drop off. Viewership dropped 24% in hour 2, and the 18 to 49 number fell 23%. And I saw some reaction today that, this would be a bad sign towards the idea of Rampage moving to 2 hours. But in looking at prior weeks, TNT is ranking in those top 150 programs on Friday night once, and it's for Rampage. So even with a diminished audience, it's an incredible figure per TNT standards for Friday night at 11 p.m. So I don't look at this as discouraging anything, but it was interesting to see, Wai, that this was a loaded edition of Rampage and not some rank and file show. And, almost a quarter of your audience did check out in the second hour, which tells me Punk was probably the biggest thing on that show.
Oh, without a doubt he was, yeah. And you're also talking about it's 11 o'clock on a Friday night. And for many of those people watching, maybe after watching Smackdown as well, 3 hours into the show, I don't know if I need to see a fourth hour. Maybe some people just don't really care who this Minoru Suzuki guy is and what this match with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston will be like in the main event. So it doesn't surprise me to see that level of drop off.
It was technically, like when you figure in the average, this would technically be the lowest viewership for a Rampage by 2,000 viewers. It's not like it was an appreciably down number, but the first hour did do 727 and a 0.32. Again, both numbers are very strong by TNT standards and ranked very high, but I am curious what the interpretation of this number is on the TNT side. If they look at it and say, hey, look, we finished, I think it was like first and fourth with these 2 hours, or if this is something where I think for a long-term picture, I just look at this 2 hours, you are going to whittle down that audience by putting out more content, but that's always the balancing act of all of this. But I do feel this will be an experiment. They try again, the 2 hour experiment.
It seems like, all these things that have happened so far with them changing time zones, I think, or changing days, everything has been some sort of test to see what the audience can handle. And at least this week, we see that, for maybe a good chunk of the audience, there is sort of a limit to how much AEW that they can get on a certain time of day, especially if it's, at this point, the fourth hour of a show that they've already been broadcasting for that particular week. So so much of this kind of depends on the needs of the broadcaster versus, the needs of the audience. And I'm sure when things are up for renegotiation, maybe that's when we'll hear a bit more.
And we're also going to see in the next month is several Dynamites on Saturday nights as well. So we'll be shifting and seeing those on back-to-back Saturdays.
And then the TNT specials starting next year.
That's right, in the new year. So there's going to be a lot of experimentation. And I'd encourage people to check out. Chris Harrington was on with Brandon Thurston again over the weekend. And it's a great insight into AEW's business. You get quite a lot of candid responses from Chris Harrington, pretty much being as open as he's going to be in these kinds of interview situations about what he's dealing with personally, what his interpretation of what advertisers are looking at, networks, and just a lot of the strategy that goes into it. If you're interested in that, it's fascinating access to hear someone speak for almost 90 minutes on these subjects.
Yeah, it was really interesting to listen to somebody being so open, really, about the business of this company. So I highly encourage it.
Smackdown, on the other hand, did 2,135,000 viewers, 713.55 in the demo, and they were number one among network programming. It was down from prior weeks. In 18 to 49, it was actually their lowest number since July, which was Friday coming off of Money in the Bank. So they're second in front of a live audience. Viewership was down about 5%, still finishing number one for the night. So this was not a poor number, but interesting to see that the go home show was down, and you would figure they are lining things up for a big increase this week. I think that they have put a lot of their eggs into their basket for Friday night. Did you think tonight did a great, average, or poor job of hyping up the draft?
I'm going to say average. You know, like it's not like the show was necessarily centered around it, but they did show the commercials throughout the broadcast, and I think it's one of those shows where just simply the name of it itself, or the idea and the concept of it itself, is probably going to be a bit enough. Because, like, I don't know, what more could they really have done, I suppose, on the show?
Relationships could be thrown into chaos.
You're right. But tonight's focus was, obviously Bobby Lashley and Big E. So I'm kind of glad they didn't just litter the entire show with like draft stuff.
So Sunday night there was the PWG Threemendous card at the Globe Theater in LA, and on Monday there were stories circulating about an unfortunate incident where a fan that identifies as transgender was attacked at the show in the stairwell. This had been circulating throughout Monday. I don't believe the victim has actually issued any public comment yet, but PWG did. They wrote, "We are aware of the incident that was reported on Twitter last night during Threemendous 6. Upon learning of the report, we immediately contacted the security and management of the Globe Theater, who investigated throughout the remainder of the night. No report was made to Globe or PWG staff or management last night. However, we are in contact with the victim and working closely with the Globe to address the situation. PWG is committed to being a safe, inclusive environment for all fans. We abhor and will not tolerate physical violence at our events." And interestingly enough, one of the people on our forum responded to this that attended the event. And this is from Emmanuel, who wrote that he was there. "I did not witness the attack, nor was made aware, since I was close to the entrance of the women's restroom. There were also no homophobic or transphobic chants at all. But there was a man who was booing while Excalibur was making a speech before the event and spoke about how Black lives, women, and Black women's rights mattered. There were also 2 women who were sexually harassing the wrestlers as they made their way through the entrance, but thankfully they were asked to leave."
Disappointing to hear about any of that stuff. You know, it's and especially with a brand that I think is usually seems to be just for many people a unanimous great time, and I hope they catch the people who did it.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any wiggle room for stuff like this at any point in time, but there needs to be a zero tolerance policy for this. And I think now that you have these tools to get this kind of message out there, it's going to get clamped down on and investigated, you would hope. And that this kind of stuff, that fans are sometimes in the position that they have to police other fans and make aware that this kind of stuff is going on, rather than turning a blind eye, or it's just something that is not addressed and gets ignored. So I think it puts a big spotlight on it. So I think it is important when people speak up and make it aware of incidents like this happening, as ugly as it sounds, and fans being aware and management being aware, promotions being aware of this kind of stuff that cannot be happening at shows. I think it's a fairly simple conclusion, but it's also
It should be happening anywhere.
It shouldn't be happening at all. And it's as well, what kind of enforcement there is to assure that people can go to shows and not have to worry about this kind of stuff. On a lighter note, Wai, did you see Tyron Woodley's tattoo?
Oh no, he did it? Oh my God.
Maybe you can give us a live reaction if you go to his Instagram.
Okay. So what, does this mean the rematch is happening?
Well, why don't you look at the tattoo and you put yourself into the mind of Jake Paul and whether this would be sufficient to the terms of the bet. I don't think there's a prayer of this fight ever happening again.
Okay, let me just take a look here. Tattoo. Oh my God. It's on his middle finger. It says, "I love Jake Paul." Okay. Is this sufficient?
That's a pretty interpretive K on the Jake.
Oh, okay. It sounds like it almost looks like a joke, Paul? What's it supposed to say?
I wonder if that's what he was going for. Like, it very much looks like an R to me.
Jer Paul?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's Jer Paul? What was that? What's an R supposed to mean?
You know what Tyron Woodley needed to do? I think he needed to get the concrete numbers that this first pay-per-view did and realized there is not a huge public clamoring for this rematch.
So this is stupid, okay? Like he.
This was stupid from day one.
I mean, like, why would you get the tattoo if you didn't know it before signing the contract for a rematch? Like, now he got the tattoo and still doesn't know if he's going to get the rematch?
He's taking a leap of faith.
Yeah, I'm looking. Has Jake Paul responded?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, you should say it's not enough. That'd be great.
Be like, that's not exactly what we agreed to. So sorry, pal, you're stuck with that.
Yeah.
And Ronda Rousey and Travis Browne had a baby. I am the name of the baby.
Hold on a second. Breaking news, everybody. All due
Jake
respect.
Paul have a response.
Yeah, he shared his thoughts via Instagram story where he says, 1, Tyron got the wire from the fight. 2, Tyron bought a used Bentley. 3, Tyron got on a call with his accountant. 4, his accountant told him how much he had to pay in taxes. 5, Tyron got the tattoo. I don't even know what this means, but he's saying this is why. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody, for wasting your time with this. I regret it.
We're moving on, but congratulations to Ronda Rousey and Travis Browne. Their daughter's name is Laakia, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the second name. It is a lengthy one. Laakia Browne, we will go with.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Wonderful news.
Wonderful news. All of your news can be found at postwrestling.com. Go check all of that fine work out and all of our latest shows, podcasts, transfer windows, G1. We've got you all covered this week.
MCU Later coming out on Thursday with me, WH Park, and John Cena, who does Shot in the Dark on the Up Next feed every single week.
How's What If been for you?
For me, I enjoy almost anything MCU, so I look forward to it. But I would say if you're a bit more of a casual fan, it's definitely skippable most of the time. But they are ramping up towards the end here with they're going to bring all the various characters from the different episodes and they're going to bunch them all up together in a season finale. So that'll be kind of fun.
2 episodes left?
Yes.
All right. Raw took place on Monday from the Heritage Bank Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. And as promised, kicking things off, Big E versus Bobby Lashley. Before you could flip over to the Cowboys and Eagles, they start off the match, and Big E slaps the hell out of Bobby Lashley from the corner. This was a hell of a slap.
Big slap, yeah. It just woke all of us up, from a week slumber, or a 24-hour slumber for after that pay-per-view. Yeah, this was going to be serious.
This would have brought Finn Balor back to life.
It would have made him, shake and yeah.
So Lashley destroys him with his forearm smash. There's a double clothesline spot on the floor. Big E is getting dominated by Lashley. When Big E executes a leapfrog, goes for the big ending. I will say, with all the teases for it and the way it's always been a pretty protected maneuver, and now that he's in this big position, I think the big ending, it's really over.
Yeah, it is now. I don't like it. I still don't. But you know what? I mean, there are the people's elbow is a finisher. Everybody
it's all in how you treat it. Yes, exactly. You can view it as a back bump, but it's people buy it, and it's he wins with it all the time.
Hulk Hogan wins with a leg drop. Shawn Michaels super kick. I mean, we all talk about how great it is now, but at the time, I mean, it's just a kick. Even Cena's attitude adjustment doesn't look like the most devastating move in the match, but you're right. It ultimately doesn't matter. It depends on how they book it.
So he goes to the big ending, but Lashley gets to the rope, and Big E spears him off the apron to the floor. And who is there to greet them but Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander wearing their Hurt Business shirts? And we got a sidebar episode. What if Shelton and Cedric never left the group? What if the last 6 months were a dream and they snapped their fingers and went right back like everything was fine and they didn't have some nasty falling out where Lashley destroyed these two on multiple occasions?
Oh yeah, we always venture into alternate universes here on Raw, where we just forget about the previous week and previous month's activity. But No real explanation here. None given throughout the rest of the episode either.
Frankly, none asked either.
None
Fine.
asked.
Let's just go back.
I don't care. Yeah, like they should have never broke it up in the first place. And I think in this context, like it makes all the sense in the world to, have a 3-on-3 situation with the reunited New Day, of course.
So Lashley, Alexander, and Benjamin, they're all smiles. It's like, oh, you guys, we were just kidding. And he spears Big E. When the New Day appear, everyone brawls and the match is thrown out after 10 minutes. New Day clears the ring, dives by Woods and Kingston, and Adam Pearce comes out. We're not going to end things like that in Cincinnati. This match will take place in a steel cage. And this audience was like, man, we don't even care about steel cage matches, but this sounds amazing.
I mean, it's a surprise, right? It's like most of them probably didn't look up throughout most of the night.
What's that doing up there?
Yeah. By the way, I thought Adam Pearce was his most pro wrestler in delivery.
He was so over the top here, like the carnival barker out here, the hometown pop he gave, and the steel cage. It was like he ramped it up to 12 here.
He really did. So they've. It's interesting to watch Raw just with the way that they have been I think experimenting with the way that they've been starting their shows. I mean, in this one,
something at the beginning, hook them in, and hope that they'll care to come back.
Yeah, exactly. But this isn't the first time they've done a match with sort of the advertised main event off the top, and then only to stop the match for some reason partway through, and then redoing it in the they even did this with a gauntlet match, if you remember, John, with the New Day, and who stops a gauntlet match midway through? The WWE. But anyway, so this just seems to be their tactic. It's a different way, basically, of, in the past, during the Attitude Era, we had the main event come in, they cut promos on each other, and then they tease, they dangle the main event all the way through the end. This is just another form of that, except they're actually wrestling the match and then giving you the real main event afterwards. So maybe it's effective, but it definitely is very groan-inducing, at the moment that they stop the matches and, especially if they keep doing it.
Well, it's going to come down to, is this a formula that's working? Are people coming back for the show? And that's going to dictate if they're going to play with this. I mean, they go through all these things. I remember when we had the countdown clock that they were going through. And then we had the period where we couldn't wrestle through commercial breaks. They come up with a lot of wacky concepts.
Thank you for reminding me. I just can't believe that happened. We're going to have a scheduled intermission? Is that what they used to do? All the
2 out of 3 falls matches we had to go through, and the breaks were during the commercials. They just got crazy with their concepts of why could viewers be turning out of our show? It's not the quality, it's the format. Who's going to sit through a commercial break when there's a match going on?
Yeah, I really do think most of the time they're really thinking way too hard about this stuff, when I think we have evidence now. People just want to see pro wrestling. They just want to see straight up matches, But anyway, it's.
I can understand that. I really didn't mind this. I understand the strategy, and it's like, if it works, it works. And by the end of it, you got your match, and you even got a clean finish by the end of it.
So that is the thing, because in the past, and still they would do this, where they advertise the match and then give you the DQ and don't even follow up for the rest of the show. Now they at least redo it. They did
deliver what they advertised.
Yeah.
And then the rest of hour 1 felt like I was watching NXT 2.0, where it was just some super quick matches with just some of your secondary characters, beginning with Eric versus Angel Garza with their respective partners. Garza and Carrillo call themselves literally the hottest new team in WWE. Who wouldn't want us, in reference to the upcoming draft? And Jimmy Smith says that one thing about being pretty is everyone wants to take your face off. So that is what's going on here. They want to unpretty Angel and Umberto. There was a knee strike by Eric. Carrillo got on the apron with Angel's pants, and Ivar goes after Carrillo, and Garza hits him with a super kick and wing clipper. It was quite the visual to watch him get Eric up for this wing clipper and wins the match in 2 minutes.
Completely, like, exactly what you said, John. It's like, it's NXT 2.0. It's WWE superstars. You know, it's like these matches are not, I don't know, that interesting at all. It's more of a chance to, I suppose, to experience some of the new personality with some of these characters. And in this case, really, it's Humberto Carrillo who's getting the makeover, joining his cousin in doing this sort of, like, I don't know, heartthrob type of gimmick. I'm happy for him. I'm happy.
I like these two together. When these guys move on to strictly main event in a month, I'll be disappointed because I think that they have some. They certainly have charisma, and that's something that it's sometimes very hard to break through with personality in this kind of a situation. But it's in the ring, good team, and with some vignettes and such, I think that this could be a team that you could do something with.
Yeah, Carrillo for this entire time, I think, when Heyman was around, he got a bit of a push as sort of like this sort of just I would say relatively generic kind of upstart cruiserweight. But clearly that's not enough for at least Vince McMahon's style of wrestling. So now we're actually going to see some character, some personality with him working as a heel. So I wait to see how he fits.
Another championship match on this show. Big Raw. Reggie comes out and his opponent when the graphic came up. Reggie versus Ricochet for the 24/7 championship.
Oh, it was a dream match.
This was one where it's like Ricochet has fallen to such a level that you should be just appalled that he has reached this level. But like, I've been there for a long time with Ricochet that I was like, if you give me 5 minutes of these dudes just doing wacky stuff in the ring, I'll be very happy with this. For Ricochet, modern day 2021 Ricochet, best you can hope for. They couldn't even give us that because this thing went all of 90 seconds. Both are doing their flips, impressing one another. Ricochet hit a beautiful Tope con Hero, and the 24/7 mob, as they are identified by multiple times, that being Drew Gulak, R-Truth, and Mastermind Drake Maverick, have front row seats, and they jump Ricochet. The match is thrown out in 1:27, and Reggie is leaving as Drake Maverick is on a walkie-talkie. Tozawa comes out, and Reggie hits a twisting cross body before he exits.
Yeah, for the brief time that Reggie and Ricochet were in there, I thought there was like some potential for some fun acrobatics between these two. But I don't think it really became all that special by the end, and it just kind of devolved into another, very predictable, very kind of ineffective 24/7 schmoz.
Yes, and Ricochet is ricocheting.
He is, yeah. How long is his contract? I wonder.
I can't tell you how many times I hear that question from people.
Yeah,
like that is the one that comes up.
I can't.
This is a guy who, he certainly puts on the idea that like this is where this guy wants to be.
He's lucky to be here. Are you kidding me?
He wasn't even supposed to be here, Way.
Exactly. He's not even. I can't wait for the Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions with Ricochet. Oh, where he could just unleash and Steve Austin can bring this clip up. So there you are in there with Reggie, 24/7 championship.
They don't even give you the 24/7 championships. I'm like, geez. Did you watch any of the Rollins interview?
I did. I haven't finished it yet, but I think I saw the most notable parts. Yeah.
Impressions of it? I kind of only saw the odd answer to. I haven't seen it.
I really enjoyed it. It was Seth Rollins pretty much like, as filterless as I think you could expect maybe for a WWE Network production, but he was speaking very honestly about a lot of what he went through in his career and, talking about butting heads with like people at NXT and talking about how like, he felt a lot of friction with like trying to get out of the WWE style. And then, yeah, it was actually a very fascinating conversation.
Did he talk about Harry Potter at all?
I don't know. If he did, I missed it. Why?
Were you not there for that one when we did that profile on him like years and years ago?
Oh, I don't know if I was there. I didn't shoot that interview.
Oh, you didn't do that one.
No, it was Tyler.
Oh, it was someone else then. No, it was this was when he was still Tyler Black, and he was still ROH champion at the time, and we did an interview with him, and he was wearing a Gryffindor shirt.
Oh, okay.
And I know nothing about Harry Potter, but I worked it into the interview. And when he saw, like, when I sent him the feature, like, he was like really like appreciative of us going to that length to put this together. I was like, no, thank you. He was, a really great interview. And this was at a time when, he was, he was rising. No, this one was at Ted Reeve that we did this one at. This would have been in 2010. And yeah, so anyway, he was a big Harry Potter fan. Riddle is in the back. Orton is not here tonight. He's going to be taking on AJ. And he says maybe Randy is out getting some famous Skyline Chili, which is now the most famous chain on wrestling programming this month. I was waiting for them to cut to Linda Pillman in the front row.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, we had MJF mention Skyline Chili. I had not heard of Skyline Chili up until these past couple weeks. So if I'm ever in Cincinnati, I know where I'm getting my chili.
I've never been to Cincinnati. I've been to Columbus, but not Cincinnati.
Well, what reason would... I guess like if you're there to cover a show, but yeah, what other reason would we really have?
You wouldn't go for a vacation to Cincinnati?
Oh, how good is that chili?
Only one way to find out, Way, is if you go on a vacation to Cincinnati. He starts singing Randy's theme. I'm moving on. Tozawa's still in the ring, and he calls out. He makes an open challenge for anyone to come face him, and answering the call is Keith Bearcat Lee. They're
keeping it. Not only are they keeping it, you know he's got this for the long haul, because now his trunks say Bearcat.
Oh, yeah. Like, this is going to be the new nickname for sure. And the fact that they put him on TV,
It's not even just going to be a nickname. I imagine they're going to drop Keith Lee eventually. He's just going to be Bearcat.
I thought they would maybe try and tie it into like as a tribute to like Bearcat Wright, or give some explanation for the nickname. But he was just...
No, he loves bears.
Keith Bearcat Lee.
He loves bears and he loves cats. So, Bearcat.
Well, he didn't spend much time here reintroducing himself because he murdered Tozawa in 37 seconds with the Big Bang Catastrophe.
Yeah, no explanation for the new name, nor any sort of perceivable difference in attitude. But whatever. Like, we all know what this is, okay? This is just somehow, like, this is what Vince needs to do to get interested in a guy. He's the same guy, but like... It's just for some reason he's not attracted. You give him this weird name that is attached to maybe one of his childhood favorite wrestlers, and all of a sudden he maybe looks at him as a shiny new toy. So whatever, like it gets Keith Lee a push and allows him to wrestle.
On a larger note, I mean, like for talent there, it's a case of read the room. Like not just look at NXT and what they want out of that system, but Nikki Cross is going to be a template for many performers. You just had Shane Thorne explain like this Crocodile Dundee character. Like that was his idea that he cited Nikki as, like these people that want TV time. This is the direction that they are being encouraged to go in. And when you see someone like Nikki Ash, that is a success story. When you look at NXT 2.0, it's the characters times 10 that they want. And if you're not getting television time, like Ricochet should be an astronaut. Like it's like come up with crazy stuff. You want Vince McMahon to have just a relatable tactic, occupation, or hobby attached. Doudrop, dance, just dance. Okay. And we're going to everything you do involves dancing. Okay. Dancing, Doudrop. That's it. Find a one-sentence description of yourself, and that's step one.
It's a different, I would say, wrestling company to any other one in the world, where you have to try to appease the taste of one person rather than the entire audience.
New Day's in the back, and Big E cut this great promo running down the Hurt Business. When the steel cage goes up, you and I are going down. And he's calling his shot like Babe Ruth. Tonight, no New Day, no Hurt Business. He was lying. And he will walk out as the rightful WWE champion. And I don't know if it was just by on purpose or not. I like the way he emphasizes the E in WWE champion. It's like a good little sign off for him on his promos.
I didn't notice.
I thought he was like emphasizing the E. And if he wasn't, do it.
Cool.
It's a smart idea.
Mm-hmm. If I was a wrestler, I would emphasize both W's. W.
W. Dubba. Damian Priest is out. He says that tonight has nothing to do with last night. I was like, I think this has everything to do with last night. There are no more chances for Sheamus after tonight. And the night after Extreme Rules, we are going to have a no DQ, no countout match for the United States Championship.
This match was more extreme than anything on the show last night.
It was. Yes, It was. Sheamus says, this is my type of match. I'm the best brawler in the business. Tomohiro Ishii, kiss my ass. It's going to be pretty ugly tonight. Tell your kids, your pets, and your grandma not to watch because it will be brutal. So that over 50 and under 12 demo getting impacted here, as well as the
pet demo,
the dog and cat demographic. Yes. Priest and Sheamus had the match you would expect these two to have. It went almost 16 minutes, and these two beat the shit out of one another. This is what I'm now calling a Instagram non-filter match. This is a match that is designed for your Instagram the next day, where they can show off their skin.
Right. I see.
You didn't know where I was going.
No, I had no idea.
Priest had this giant welt on his back because the kendo stick, only a singular one. We didn't even have the 4-pack of kendo sticks.
No kendo stick bundle. No.
Yes. They note that this could be the last time they ever have a match with the draft coming up. Sheamus places a table in the corner. Then he climbs. And Sheamus, I like how he's incorporating this. He does the big arrow shot where he's just going to take guys like mannerisms.
Yes.
Now I just want him to face Sheamus or face Roman Reigns just once to do the big like howl in the corner.
Yes.
This is the role for Sheamus these days. Sheamus was great in this match. More kendo stick shots. Priest was tossed into a chair in the corner. And then Priest fakes him coming off the middle rope for a brogue kick attempt, but then leaps right into a flying knee. Sheamus misses with the kendo stick. Reckoning gets countered, and Priest avoids a power slam through the table, sends Sheamus through it, and wins with the Reckoning in 15:52. There was also this big table spot where Sheamus hit a white noise off the apron. That set up the first commercial.
That looked so brutal on
crazy spot. Like
wow.
These two just worked their asses off here. This was better than I would say everything, with the exception of maybe like Reigns and Balor last night. I would not put this at that level, but I would say this would have been the second best match last night.
Really, really good, hard-hitting match. You know, these two, it feels like they've had a lot of matches, but this one did feel intense enough to feel like it's a blow-off. They just really went all out and were not really pulling much from each other. So this is like that Sheamus, style. I mean,
Sheamus has had a great year.
Yeah, we kid, but like I'd love to see him against Tomohiro Ishii. Like they would beat the shit out of each other. So it was a very good TV match, and I'm sure they'll be hurting in the morning, these two.
Mustafa Ali asks Mansoor why he asked Jeff Hardy to team with them tonight, and Mansoor explains that Jeff Hardy is a legend. And what logic this was, if we win tonight, we could prove that we belong together and should not be split up.
Well, I mean, I guess so. If we're to believe the draft, it takes place with like head honchos from Fox and USA in a boardroom together, and they have to decide, okay, do we take both tag team members or should we split them up?
So it's not random. Is that what we're establishing? It's not a random.
Was it random
draft.
last year?
I can't remember.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think
they just put the names up. They just put like groups up last year,
right?
As I recall.
I don't think it's random. I guess.
Well, Jeff Hardy shows up right as Ali is burying Jeff, and Ali immediately backtracks when he realizes Jeff is there. And Jeff says that Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky are big, scary bastards. But I've faced bigger and scarier. And I can't wait to twist their fate.
Yeah, that's a new one. I don't think I've heard him say that before.
All these years, he has never turned it into a literal threat.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this was our 6-man. They got the advantage on Mansoor, and then they casually mentioned we're going to hear from Bill Goldberg tonight. Hardy gets tagged in. The shirt comes off, but Mahal stops his fate from being twisted. Mansoor leaps off the steps into Shanky, and then Veer destroys Ali with his shoulder tackle, and then he does the big wind-up into a lariat, allowing Graves to note that Veer has $1 million arm, which I love. It's like he is literally the inspiration of a movie.
A Disney movie.
As Rinku Singh, but he has a different name here, and we just have to do the Braun Breaker, and we'll subtly reference what he is very well known as in the real world. But this is the most they have kind of really leaned in on Veer's background, and I think we have seen like he has been the most protected of these three. And it feels like maybe this draft is a way that they are going to isolate him, and he is going to be one of their next projects.
It's possible. Really, anybody. I think it could be possible. I would say, like, I don't know how much he's been doing off TV, but on TV, I don't think we've really seen enough of him for me to feel confident that he'd be able to last on his own. I kind of like him with Jinder and Shanky at the moment. So I think they could still continue to push him as a singles, with some people around him, but we'll see next week. They might have other plans. Mansoor and Ali, they get a lot of airtime, or at least like they continue to still have some sort of storyline going on in the background. They're not winning a whole lot. They don't even get revenge on the people that beat them up, but they continue to like get backstage speaking roles. So I don't really know what it means, what it says about them.
And it seems that Jeff Hardy is back into
just a mentor type of role.
And like just more of a concentrated mid-card role where, I mean, he was really falling there, where he was just on main event duty, chasing around for the 24/7 title. And I think he's in more of a focused position now, like not main event level, but at least not as low as he had fallen to.
In this case, I mean, at least tonight, if they keep this going, it feels like he's the guy to bring the attention to Mansoor and Ali. But maybe this won't continue past the week.
Karrion Kross has never felt more alive and reinvigorated than now.
We just got engaged.
That is right. No one knows where they will end up at the end of all of this. All of it leads to the agony that will haunt your every waking moment, which I think is how they pitched the Jeff Hardy loss to him. They will all fall and pray. And these aren't just words, Way. We had dramatic sound effects behind this to really punctuate the doom and gloom that he is forecasting on Raw. And then we just cut to Karrion Kross on the entranceway with his mask.
He was wearing a mask, yep.
And here we go. It's the showdown that I think could have been saved for Saudi Arabia or WrestleMania. It's Karrion Kross, Jackson Riker. Graves says Karrion Kross has momentum on his side. And then Saxton goes, you can say the same about Riker. So, can you? And then he explains that since leaving Elias, Jackson Riker has not lost. This is true. He had all those matches with Elias where he won. And then since his Symphony of Destruction match with Elias, which was their last meeting, Jackson Riker has gone 4-0 on main event.
Oh, wow.
So
hot streak.
They have been building to this without our knowledge.
Yeah, okay. Does Corey actually have like records, like main event records? He's probably on Cage Match too.
Might have it open there.
Yeah.
Good companion. Riker lifts Kross and he gets stopped. He hits him with the Doomsday Suplex. And then he goes to apply the Kross jacket. This had to have been the worst looking Kross jacket. That did not look like Riker was in any danger. And Jimmy Smith was just explaining, well, if you can't get under the chin, you just crank on the jaw. So this was a just a crank by Cross, and Riker fell in 1:35.
You could tap guys out like with an.
You could, but this did not look.
Probably not it. Yeah. So, I mean, good for Jimmy Smith to like be there to lend some credibility.
He could see like this does not look great. So cover for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't even realize Riker hasn't been on TV or hasn't been on Raw all this time, but they lost interest in him. So
in him,
his spot.
What about Elias? Like they may have literally killed off this guy's character.
Yeah, you're right. So they were teasing that rebrand. Maybe he'll be part of the draft tomorrow or next week.
Friday.
Friday.
That would make sense. Like maybe don't reintroduce him until you're ready to do something with him. Like
why do the vignettes? Why do the vignettes so early?
Well, that was it. You did the vignettes and then you stopped them cold. So I don't know. It's just he's kind of just disappeared. Doudrop meets with Pearson DeVille. She wants the open challenge with Charlotte Flair. DeVille used this as a chance to run down Naomi, who doesn't even belong on the roster. And they give Doudrop the match, providing that if she wins, she does her dance. And she proceeded to just dance in the office.
That's her thing now.
She dances.
She's dancer. Yeah.
Lashley says it makes him sick that Big E calls himself the rightful champion. He complains about the cash-in, but tonight, I'm not injured. I'm glad it's a cage match, and goes over all the different ways of which he can win the title. Riddle and AJ Styles, this was another really strong match on Raw. They went through the commercial break. Riddle hit this bridging German and then a ripcord knee, and Riddle, clearly catching up on his Okada matches, is holding on to the wrist after the knee. And AJ takes him for a pump handle gutbuster to break the grip. And Riddle then dives off the middle rope to the floor. The floating bro lands on the knees, and AJ applies the calf crusher. Riddle is screaming before making it to the rope. And they cut to Omos, who is pissed. And he has to do the most acting of his career as they kept the camera on him, and he had to just look devastated. It was awesome. AJ then does this spot. This was like out of that Nakamura Sakuraba Wrestle Kingdom match where he slides and gets blasted with Riddle's knee. This was a great looking spot. Not something you typically see in a WWE setting. I thought it looked really good. And our Randy Riddle sets up for the RKO. But when he goes for it, AJ catches him on the shoulders for his burning hammer, and then the Styles Clash for the win. Awesome ending sequence, a really strong match on Raw. The second one of the night.
Yeah, this match was awesome. It felt like it was AJ being able to wrestle like the AJ of old instead of playing sort of this like weakling of his tag team with Omos. These two have shown really great chemistry on the show before, and this absolutely continued. I think one of their better outings together. So really good TV match.
And I guess you're staying with this tag title program. I think at least doing one more match between them. They have not built up a whole lot of tag teams, and I guess they're going to try and squeeze one more out of them based on this.
I guess so.
Omos then chokeslammed Riddle, and there was a recap of Shayna's attack on Nia Jax. Schreiber asks her what was going through your mind, and Shayna just looks troubled and walks away. Charlotte and Doudrop hit a senton. Eva came out. Flair hit Doudrop with the natural selection while distracted. 1:50. So we got some very good wrestling on this show. We also got matches that were over in an instant, and this was the latest one.
Yeah, many of these were just angles. Like no wrestling really to speak of here.
Yeah, Eva stands over Doudrop and is posing to the audience. Flair looks annoyed and attacks Eva, holding up her title. We would revisit Eva Marie, but first, Bill Goldberg, in his home, addresses Bobby Lashley. We are both fathers, but I hope you're a better father than you are a liar. You choked my son Gage unconscious, and you lied, saying it was a misunderstanding. When my son was born, I swore on everything holy to protect him from anyone and anything that could hurt him. You hurt my son, and I will fulfill the promise I made to my wife, my son, and to you. I'm going to hurt you, Bobby, badly. If I'm lucky, I'll kill you, and I will enjoy each second of it. Gage Goldberg is my son, and you, Bobby Lashley, are about to be my victim. And off signed Liam Neeson. This was maybe the best promo of Bill Goldberg's life. I love this thing. This was angry dad Bill Goldberg, and this is a role that this man was born to play at this stage of his life.
This was awesome. You know, we know his in-ring limitations, like the matches that he has, they kind of vary in terms of quality, but in these interviews, he still sounds like Bill Goldberg, and maybe even the best he may sound. This is Dad Goldberg. Goldberg is a dad. So I think I can always at least get into the prospect of his matches if these promos are this good. And for a Saudi Arabia show where spectacle seems more important than match quality, or at least historically that's the case, I mean, it makes absolute sense to use him.
Yeah, I mean, the hiccup was when he had mentioned the last appearance that he did was about, needing knee surgery. But I mean, if it was, we didn't know the extent of it. Like if it was just a minor, like arthroscopic deal, and the fact that they're doing this angle now, I agree with you. It seems like this is set up for Saudi Arabia, and just, man, this is a great promo. Threatening to kill someone, that was always, I was under the impression, one of those, you are not allowed to say in promos, but I guess, shit's on. We're threatening death now.
Yeah, and they can say shit now. So maybe things are a bit different.
Yeah, great promo. Which takes us to Eva Marie in the ring. And if she had the opportunity that Doudrop had just had, I would be the women's champion. I'm tired of being taken advantage of and disrespected. I can beat any woman in the locker room, and they know it. So Shayna Baszler enters, puts her to sleep with the Kirifuda clutch. The crowd is cheering, drags her to the edge of the apron, attacks the elbow, and then places it on the steps, stomps the elbow, and the crowd shows their concern by chanting one more time. And I don't know, I read this as like this write-off of Eva Marie. Like this was a serious angle. You just did it with Nia, who's got to disappear, and then doing the same with Eva. Like this felt like a pretty conclusive end to Eva Marie, at least for the time being.
I think it should be. The only other thing to that is like, I mean, does Doudrop not need to get some revenge after Eva cost her the championship match earlier?
Or this gives you a reason to not put Eva in the ring anymore. Like this is her, like she's injured, and just you segue her to a manager, you pair her with someone, and that's, I don't know. Like you did do the Doudrop continuation, although, God, I don't think anyone needs to see another 2-minute match between them.
No, I don't think so either. And, Nia's out for a while. I think Eva has to sell it for just as long as Nia. And I think they've been doing a good job rebuilding Shayna these past couple of weeks.
I do expect that the Raw women's division probably needs some bolstering. There's a lot of women on SmackDown, and when you're looking here, like Charlotte has gone through everyone. They've exhausted her and Rhea Ripley. Nikki's out of the picture for the time being. Shayna is like, Charlotte and Shayna, they have not had great chemistry in their pairings, but they are building Baszler up for something. Obviously, this is like the most kind of killer persona that they have given Baszler since her call up. So they're at least keeping her strong. But I could definitely see some of the talent from SmackDown evening things out on the Raw side of things.
Do you see any of Belair, Sasha, or Becky being one of those?
I don't think so, because I wouldn't have done that angle on Sunday if they were just going to take one of them out of that. I think part of that is keeping those three together, but that's quite the concentration of your big stars. Yeah, and it's all on one show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them moving like a Sasha or something to Raw and still going ahead with that three-way, at some point. And you also have to remember, Survivor Series is coming up. They might do some sort of, connecting of the brands then as well.
Right, yeah. Schreiber interviewed Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash. And Rhea Ripley reminded us, We're complete opposites, but sometimes opposites attract. Nikki is annoying her with a fist bump and says that Super Brutality is ready to fly and suggests that they get matching outfits. What do you think, Rhea, about the color blue? Rhea thinks about it and says blue is a great color. On you. Oh. And Nikki suggests that they come out in matching blue capes.
Yeah, I hate these backstage segments with these two. They're just so overly staged and so poorly performed. I don't know, kids might really love these two together. Like, they might love this. I don't know, but I can't stand them.
Big E, Bobby Lashley, steel cage match for the WWE Championship. They were making their entrances with like a half hour left in the show, so they dedicated a lot of time to this. Although the beginning was all brawling around the cage because Lashley attacked him before entering. We come back from commercial, the bell rings, and Lashley is in control. He goes for a spear and gets hip-tossed into the corner. He's being rammed into the fence, and Big E tries for a big ending off the turnbuckle, but it stopped, and this was a case of intentionally going for a Dragon Sleeper, unlike the night prior with Jeff Hardy. And then Lashley tries to climb. Big E climbs, rams Lashley's head off the cage, and then he's trying to climb over when Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander climb up the cage and send him back in. Lashley is going for the door when all of a sudden Xavier Woods slams the door shut on Lashley's head. They attack Benjamin and Alexander. Kingston hits a trust fall. Adam Pearce must have been too slow to get out here to enforce the rules, but they were all gone. We go through a second commercial, and Big E is hitting all of these belly-to-bellies. He gets cut off coming off the ropes with a spear, but then makes his comeback, hits the big ending. Lashley kicks out of the big ending for a huge pop, and then it culminates with the two fighting on the turnbuckle, and this time Big E hits the big ending off the second turnbuckle to get the win in 16 minutes and 29 seconds. A big roar for the finish, and a good cage match between them. It just further solidified Big E as your champion, and I think things are going very well for Big E in the first 2 weeks of his reign.
I totally agree. I thought this was a really good TV match. You know, these two, I think, have exhibited really good chemistry with one another throughout this entire program thus far. It's a program that, you know, really feels like it's just taking place on TV. So if you're not somebody who watches the pay-per-views, you can probably, you know, completely enjoy it all. And I think it's great for Big E because it exposes him to the biggest audience possible. Lashley has been a great heel. Big E is an excellent babyface, and I thought both men were operating at their very best here.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good match between them, and the ending scene is Big E in the ring celebrating when Drew McIntyre walks out, holds up the sword, and points it at Big E, challenging him to a joust. And Big E accepted. He nodded his head, said, "We will meet at dawn." And that's how Raw went off the air. And, you know, a clear transition onto what the next program is for Big E, but also I feel like the end of the Bobby Lashley chapter. And I would say probably not with just Big E. Like, this is kind of that pattern we see of a guy that loses a bunch of matches, and maybe that's the idea, is that he is going elsewhere.
I mean, I could see Lashley being moved, or, I mean, it could be they could flip the champions. I don't know. Who knows what they might do, but I'd also agree that this felt like it was a bit of a blow off. Although I think like a 6-man between a newly reformed Hurt Business and a New Day is in order.
Yeah, you could certainly, you know, continue it on that side. I mean, it really doesn't matter where Lashley goes when you're doing the Goldberg program. I mean, you can really just do it on whatever. But you also did reintroduce like the Hurt Business here, so I wouldn't want to see them tease it and break them up again. That would just be playing with people. But that was the show. I would say you got 3 really good matches on this show, and I thought that like this was a very good edition of Raw.
I don't know if I would say very good, but I thought you had, 3 very good matches, I would say, for TV and Bobby Lashley.
I will take that. Like, that was like 45 minutes of wrestling right there between those 3 matches.
Yeah, maybe if you really wanted to see the wrestling, Sheamus and Priest, I thought absolutely rocked. It was very hard hitting. Again, more extreme than anything I thought we saw on Extreme Rules. Riddle and AJ was really good. And
that was my match of the show.
And then this main event in the steel cage with Big E and Lashley, I thought absolutely delivered. And the Goldberg thing. So all 4 of those
Goldberg
things.
promo was very good. I like that. Like, Big E feels like the top guy on the show. The audience is with him. The Goldberg promo is very strong. They're heating up Baszler, which I think like that is something that people are optimistic about. And the rest is it was just short filler stuff that was. Just move on to the next segment.
There were introductions to a lot of guys that might play a bigger role after the draft. People like Bearcat, I suppose Shanky Veer taking a step up on this show. Yep. So, yeah.
Doudrop, they're doing stuff with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell
Ricochet.
that. And Ricochet, yeah. But as far as interest in this show, John, at least with our audience, I can tell nobody gave a shit about this one.
Wow.
Because for the first time, I think ever in doing one of these Raw reviews, we have no pieces of feedback from forum.postwrestling.com. So I think at least our audience, not very interested.
It's okay. That's why we're here to recap it if no one else is watching. Honestly, believe me, I'm the first one to complain about Raw dragging. And tonight, everyone from my update had to move everything. I had to watch this in regular speed. I have not figured out the Sportsnet streaming issue. And for my own enjoyment, I decided to get on with one of their online help support people. I put in my inquiry.
Yeah.
An hour and a half later, they got back to me. They're so concerned, they come back to me and say, I explained my problem. This rewind function is just not working. What's the problem? And I read it with such a tone. They're like, it's very frustrating when technical problems are at issue.
Oh, it's just a bot, sounds like.
Well, this person introduced themselves as a name. For all I know, it's a bot. Who knows? But then says, besides this issue with the player, how's the rest of your day going? Like, dude, I don't have time for this shit, okay? I want to know the problem. And it's just like, oh, they're like making small talk with me. I was like, I don't have time for this. Fix this. It's like, well, is this a problem on your other devices? I was like, no, I got one device here that I'm trying to work it on. Can you try it on a different device? No, I'm not doing it on another device. I want it to work on this. What's the problem? Said, you know what? You might have to clear out your cache and your cookies. It's like, okay, let's try that. You know what effect that had away? Nothing.
Zero. Nothing.
Zero. I was fully prepared to come on here, and I was going to apologize to the Sportsnet tech outlet on this new player. But you know what? It's still a mess.
So you were on the support page with Sportsnet themselves?
It was a Rogers representative. Yeah.
Like, was it through the Sportsnet website
that
you got that?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I decided to check today myself, and I had the same issue. So
you can't rewind it.
I can't.
I can go like a minute and 24, and then it stops.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Then it's not just my issue, because honestly, I heard no one else contact me and saying, yeah, I had the same problem. So I was curious. Maybe it is on me.
I don't think anybody else needs the ability to rewind unless you're reviewing the show on a podcast.
I would think every single viewer of Raw in this country that streams it, no one is watching it live, but I could be very wrong.
Yeah, I think you and I are in pretty kind of particular scenarios, and I think people listening to this either have no idea what we're talking about, or they're just oddly fascinated. Because
is your app fine? Does your apps have no issues?
On iPad, it's fine, totally fine. So you can rewind, all the way to 8 o'clock if you're starting it really late. And also, there are alternative means too. I'm sure people can inform you about, John, if you you need. But the saga continues, I guess. I mean,
It's not that much of a saga. It was not too big.
Really,
of a
like
tonight.
you can just go to the other room and use your PVR, but I guess
It's fine. Like, it's not a
yourself.
huge issue. It's more so, like, it's frustrating that they had a very, like, a non-issue player. It was fine. And they have come up with a new one that has less tools than the previous one.
it was fine for our purposes, but I imagine it's probably to their advantage that, their audience can't just skip over their commercials, which is why TSN hasn't included this function on their live streamer.
But you can rewind like that. Why even have the option to
You can go
rewind
90.
it?
You can go 90 seconds for this purpose of instant replay for sports. I imagine maybe that's why.
But when I log into it, it gives you two options.
Yeah.
Watch live, start from the beginning. That's literally what the button says, start from the beginning. But you cannot start from the beginning. You can only go back 90 seconds worth. So that to me suggests this is a glitch and not the function.
You could be right. Who do we know that works at Sportsnet?
Open call out. Anyone that was involved with this player that can let us know, is this a problem?
Let's get to
Or
the
is
bottom of this.
Is this the feature? Is this, guys, we've got the best idea. What if we trick people into thinking they can go back anytime, but they're stuck? Because once they've logged in, we've got them. These guys that have to take notes on this stuff.
Yeah. I know we have listeners all around the world, like people in Israel, people in, Korea, who could not give a shit about what we're talking about. But I'd love to know.
That's not true, because we always hear complaints about the WWE network and different problems that they have. This
fine.
is a real, this is
Sure.
this is a legitimate issue.
I guess I would just love to know their interpretation of this whole thing. And I'd also love to know how long we can fill time for the rest of the show with this conversation.
Way is telling me it's time to wrap things up. So that is it. I am going to go 90 seconds into the past and rewatch the closing seconds of Raw.
By the way, 4.89 for this edition of Raw from the 9 people who decided to vote.
All right. Well, Raw engagement is at an all-time high. But we're going to be back on Tuesday with Ask Away, where maybe someone from Sportsnet will have a question for us on Tuesday's show. Maybe they can follow up with us there on our mailbag.
I think we have the resources to be able to really dig and find somebody who works in the technical team with Sportsnet. Like, we know people who work in the sports TV industry.
This will be our next audio documentary feature.
Yeah,
Making
let's get to the
of the
bottom of it.
Sportsnet player.
Yeah, we have the power. We can do it.
We can do anything. All right. Thank you to everybody for listening. We appreciate every last one of you. Wai, I want you to have a great night.
Yeah, you too, man.
I'm sorry for talking too much tonight.
No, I love it. I'm just teasing, John. I could spend 2 hours on this. Are you kidding me? We could have a special just dedicated to the Sportsnet players and ability to rewind. I'm totally down for that.
I'm done with the Sportsnet player because it's done with me. But I will follow up with any advancement that
I need
comes
to
my
know.
way.
No, I'm just getting started. I need to
Well, you've reassured me. Like, I was ready to make it a dead issue, but now you're telling me you are experiencing the same problem. So that tells me this is widespread, and it also tells me that no one out there is watching Raw on this Sportsnet player. They're all just watching it regularly or through alternative means.
They're probably watching on TV or something. Yeah. But it was very convenient. You're just having it all on your laptop.
I loved it. It was a great time.
Yeah. R.I.P. the
All
Sportsnet
things come to
player.
an end. Good night, everyone.